Come on, Tonya, let's do it. Dancing for the 6888, baby.
Yes.
For the ancestors. Hey. All right, we on Instagram. What's up, Instagram? All right, Queen. Yes, Tonya. That's my girl. That's my girl.
The music playing. You know, I'm finna go off with the music.
So you telling me that people who write books dance and have a good time?
Hey.
I'll take it down. Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. Hold on, Tonya. We just need to let the beat drop. Give it up to the 6888. Yes, yes, yes. Hey. Hello, everybody out there. This is Tyra Omilade, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess-centered lifestyle. And I'm so excited today to have really a dear friend and a sister on. Her name is Tonya Abari, and she has recently written a book. She has written several books, actually. And I was like, oh my goodness, the 6888. I first learned about them last year when my dad was teaching me about World War II. And then the movie came out. And then I said, look at my sister. She has published a children's book all on this particular topic. And she's doing a virtual book tour. And I was like, I want in on that. So I was like, Tonya, join me. How are you, Queen?
I'm fantastic. Happy Friday. Thank you for having me on. Yes, my dear, dear friend and sister. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you. So, Tonya, today we just want to talk a little bit and learn more about you, learn more about the book, even learn a little bit more about just what it means to be a writer. You know, you and I know we're all into intuition and spirituality, the ancestors. So how does that play in to your process in writing a book? But first, let's just talk a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit more about you, how you have come into this career. To me, it's not every day that I get to say, oh yeah, I know a journalist, a published author, storyteller, essentially a modern day griot. Tell us a little bit more about you. Where are you from? Who's your family? All of that.
Yes, yes. So I'm going to start off by saying one thing about me is that I love to dance. And so you playing the music was just, you know, invigorating for me today to get a little bit of movement out. I am not, that is not my ministry by trade. I don't teach, you know, I'm not Tyra, but, you know, something that I've always loved since I was little is, you know, like dancing around and moving around and getting my feelings out.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you for cranking up the music. So yes, my name is Tonya Abari. I am from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised.
Okay.
Shout out to Baltimore. I am also a graduate of the University of Maryland at College Park. So Baltimore, DMV, all of that. I am a former classroom English teacher that lasted about 4 years. Didn't make it long, but I did. I was a classroom and I taught English in high school.
Oh, wow.
And, yes, and also principles of technology back then when technology was just getting, you know, baby boom, AOL era. I probably couldn't keep up now. So and you know, they gave me that class because things were rough in the school system where you kind of just like got to teach whatever you got to teach. So I taught, and then I became a traveling set teacher where I traveled all over the country teaching child entertainers on movie sets, on and off Broadway, and also on music tours.
Okay.
My first job as a set teacher was with in Baltimore, home. I went to the home team and worked on the set of The Wire. And so that was a really, really great gig. But then, along the way, I was like, ooh, something's missing. I'm doing something. And, what is it that I love to do when I was a kid? What is it that I love to do, besides dancing around and acting a fool? I could remember since I could pick up a pen that I love to write. I enjoyed storytelling. My dad would tell these stories about PD. I don't know who PD is. He don't know who PD is. He just made him up. And that was so intriguing for me. And then in elementary school, I would come home every day after school and listen to the storytelling hotline. And I would listen to Mary Carter Smith and Maria Broom, two brilliant griots from Baltimore. And I would come home and listen to the storytelling line for hours on end after school. And then, middle school, my maiden name is Wells. And so I had gotten a little bit of trouble at my middle school, and I was introduced to a journalism facilitator, and I convinced the journalism facilitator that I was related to Ida B. Wells because
shut the front door.
Yes. And I had to, because I went out for the editor-in-chief, and I did this whole presentation about how, Ida B. Wells is in my DNA. And I have no idea if I'm related to Ida B. Wells or not. I just happen to have the marvelous last name, but maybe, I don't know, but yes. And so that's kind of where, journalism started. And then I majored in journalism in undergrad, but I switched to English and English education because I wanted a job coming out of undergrad. So I was like, well, let me just, teach because teachers have done so much for me, and I want to give back to the community in that way. And we'll see where we take it from there. But along that path, I jumped back and was like, I need to get back to writing. Like, I need to get back to my pen. So here I am. Long road, but here I am.
So tell me a little bit about the journey into book publishing. Like, for me, when I was a little girl, there were not a lot of Black people that we could see writing, but especially not a lot of Black women. And tell me, am I saying the right name? Margaret Walker Alexander. Do you know that name?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't she a Black woman?
Yes.
Okay. So Margaret Walker Alexander actually came to my school and spoke one time, or maybe I saw her at the library. I can't remember what it was.
You're from Mississippi.
I remember the little girl. You said what?
You're from Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay, because Jackson State, I was a part of the project at the early beginning that digitized all of her work, like back in 2010, and we were down in Jackson, Mississippi for
that's exactly where I'm from. Yeah. And so, yeah, I saw her as a little girl, and I never connected because you and I always, as we talk, find out things were similar. As a little girl, I loved writing. And when I was in junior high school, one of my teachers was like, hey, you're a really good writer. And so when I went to Spelman, I started off in science, and I was like, I'm not going to make it here. I was like, the one thing that I love to do is write. So I switched to English. So that's how I ended up an English major. But I just remember there not being a lot of Black authors. It seems like there's more now, but I think it's not as many as we think. And I know it's, can be, it's just a different path for Black people a lot of times as we make, our entrance into a career path that's not common for us yet. And so, I started collecting books by Black authors. So just share a little bit about your journey as, just stepping onto the path and maybe publishing your first book. It's not every day we get to meet somebody who has published books. So just a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I was in college, and the idea of writing a book came to mind because we were reading these books in the syllabus and in the coursework that I was just like, I can't get with that. Like, and the great Queen Mother, Toni Morrison, has said that, if there's a book that you want to write and it hasn't been written, then you have to be the one to write it.
Okay.
And so I went to my professor with this, my English professor with this in undergrad, and I was shut down. Like, my professor told me, really, like, to my face, was like, your writing is not strong enough to publish anybody's book.
My God.
And I suggest that you switch your thought process. Like, I don't think you should even try to publish a book. I think that'll be wasting your time. And I think that, you need to do something different, like family studies, or, go down a different path. And that's when I added on secondary education. I was naive enough to believe this professor, because here it is, here they are, a world-renowned literary professor, in thinking that they know what they're talking about, and reading my work. And I'm just like, as a young 20-year-old, I'm like, oh man, like, this person is right. Like, maybe I just don't have the chops, knowing good and well that professor was not reading Black literature. That professor was not astute in all the types of ways that I could be a writer. So that advice, like, looking back, that was like horrible advice on that professor. The professor ended up getting fired for right. and some of that as well. But like, that really like stung me for like years, because I just believed. And then I was applying to things, like I applied to the writer's house at my university, and I didn't get accepted. I, was writing freelance for my university newspaper, but like they never like promoted me to like the staff. Like, they would only take, certain articles for me. And so I really was just like, this is not for me. Like, I can't, I'm just not good enough to do this. Wow. And so it took me many years. I went through teaching, and then set teaching, and I became a curriculum and assessment writer, because when I left the classroom, and I was like, well, I need something to pair up with traveling set teachers. And I want to start a writing business. So let me just jump into what I know, which is writing curriculum. And so I did that for a while, and that really got the tongue wet in terms of writing like passages and things for children. Nice. And so when I had Talani in 2015, I was reading picture book after picture book after picture book, and reading so many books with her. We stayed in the library. And so, I was just like, there aren't enough books that represent who we are. Like, we are at a microcosmic level, like as a family, but also we as like our people, our history. And so it was really after I had Talani, which was years after, college, graduation, and all that, and working and all that, that I was just like, you know what? Like, I want to publish books. And of course, I had no idea what to do. Like, I had no idea what to do. Instagram had just taken off. I literally got on Instagram and put a post up that said, hey, is there anyone out here that wants to learn about how to publish a book with me? There were about 15 people that answered, but then only one person got on a call with me.
Okay.
The one person that got on a call with me ended up becoming an award-winning journalist. So we would stay up, like we would get up really, really early in the morning. At like 3-4 o'clock, we would hop on the calls, and we would just go dig in for research. We picked up books from the library about how to publish, how to get into get into journalism. And so we were both kind of just learning together, like how to do it.
Wow.
And then I joined this program called the 12 by 12, because I was a bit more interested in publishing picture books and books for children than my accountability partner was. She was more interested in journalism and sociology and writing in an academic way. So I was like, okay, I'm doing freelance journalism. That's cool, but I want to do books. And so I joined the 12 by 12, which is it's a challenge where authors in 12 months, they write 12 picture book draft manuscripts.
Wow.
And so I did it. I did that. I wrote 12 drafts. And along the process, there are guest speakers that come in and talk about publishing, that, there are agents, there are writers and editors. So people talking about craft, people talking about the business of publishing, people talking about every angle of publishing that you can think of. And so that's how I learned. And I went back and did a second year of that after 2018. And 2018 is when I first learned about the 6888. So we'll get into that later.
But 2018, eh?
Yes.
So you're not new to the 6888. We can go on ahead and segue into that. So you when did you publish your first book, your very first book?
My very first book wasn't published until 2022.
Wow.
Yes. So
what's the name of it?
It's My Hair, My Crown, the board book.
The book I wrote. I mean, I bought the first one.
Yes.
I bought your first book.
That's my first published book on my own. Now I think I wrote 2 chapters and a couple of books.
Oh, okay.
Featured in books, but like I never, published my own. So that was so in 2018, I was watching the CBS morning news with Talani on my lap. And I saw the ceremony of them honoring the 5 women of the 6888.
Yes. President Obama and First Lady?
Yes.
Obama? Oh,
yes. And then the presentation at Fort Leavenworth with the sculpture. I looked up the artist and I was like fascinated because I was like, this needs to be everywhere. Like, I don't know why people are not talking about this. I did not know this in my studies. Studying, I do love history, but I'm like, I never even knew that this, happened or this historical event happened. And so, shame on us, education system, pat. But so I saw the story and then began to, go down a rabbit hole of research. And I was looking for a picture book, like a book for young readers that could grow, with Talani, that I could read to her and that she could learn about on her own. And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find a single one. So I had done the 12 by 12 before, and then I was in it for a second time. And I was like, you know what? Like, and then I had a dream. I had a dream about these women. I had a dream about these women that I was standing right next to the podium that they were getting celebrated at. I was standing next to the podium, next to the monument, and I had books in my hand.
Oh my God. Wow.
I kid you not. I had books in my hand and there was a line of people waiting for me with the books in my hand.
Wow.
And so after I had that dream, I was like, you know what? I talked to Tosin. I was like, I got to move. Like, I got to move on this. Like this, I have to move. I'm in 12 by 12. We're doing another 12 drafts. This is one of the drafts that I'm going to write. So that was about it was like 2019, early 2019, maybe late 2018 or early 2019. I can't remember. It's all a blur because Talani was little. But so around that time, like I wrote the draft. I put it away because I was still learning about the business of publishing. I didn't have an agent at the time. I was trying to get an agent. I was querying with a different manuscript. I was querying with the first picture book that I actually wrote, Locks Not Dreads. I was querying that manuscript around.
Okay.
And so I had, gotten rejected like upward of 70 times.
Part of the process, isn't it? Rejection.
Yes. Rejection is a deep part of the process.
Okay.
And so, and I get rejected all the time. People think because I have like books out and stuff that like everything's a yes, but like I get so many no's, it's not even funny.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, so I, had been querying and I was unsuccessful, but then 2020 happened and, lots of performative acts and things. I got an agent. Someone, wanted Locks Not Dreads. And I didn't have an agent at the time. And then the editor said, okay, well, I know someone that could, I know an agent. I think you should chat and yada, if you want to be represented, this and that. So I signed with my agent in 2020.
Wow.
So when I signed with her, the 6888 was also one of the drafts that, we looked at. I told her I wasn't ready for it yet because it needed some editing and all of that. So we went back and we edited it and revised and did a lot of, this book also had nearly 70 revisions, like 70 revisions of this story. So we revised it and we went out on submission, and an editor accepted the story in 2021.
Okay.
In 2021, and I was in the hospital recovering from a stroke after having tummy tayo when I got the call that said that they wanted the book.
Wow.
So, yes.
Girl.
So yes, we can get all into the spiritual of all of that, because I thought it was going to be a no because it had gotten down to this one last editor in the list that was sent. I'd gotten all rejections.
Wow.
And I was in the hospital. Like I was not functional.
Yeah.
My agent, called Tosin and said, hey, HarperCollins wants the book. What do you say?
Wow. So what did you have to do? I mean, given that you were sick and everything, what did you have to do between 2021 and now to get the book out?
I gave Tosin, he had permission to.
Tosin is her husband, y'all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so he did all the back and forth. He would ask me, like, I couldn't like type or anything at first.
You were sick. You were.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a witness. You were very ill. Wow. Wow.
And so I had him do a lot of the calling because but even still, because I was sick, I was like, oh no, we're not gonna let this pass.
Look, I was gonna say it really just goes to show, because one of the things we're going to talk about is the spirituality, the intuition, and all of that. The dream that you had with you having the books in your hand, which inspired you to go on ahead and start working on the book. You're down to one editor or publishing house. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. One publishing.
You're down to one publishing house. You're on the sickest bed you've ever been on in your whole life. And the 6 AAA said, not today, Satan. She's going to get this book done. We're going to get it done.
That part. So
because this is before, what's his face made, I'm so sorry. I need to be professional. Okay. What is the man who made the movie? I'm so sorry.
Oh, Tyler Perry.
Perry. Yes. This is before he started bringing up the 6 AAA, isn't it? Or before he started this concept, do you know?
Yes. Well, I don't know, like the back, like what kind of conversations were had, because in publishing and in TV and entertainment, a lot of things like you have to keep under wraps until they announce things. And so like, even though like the book was in motion in like 2021, like they didn't even announce it until like 2023.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a lot that like goes on behind the scenes and legally that you can't like talk about until it's been published. And so even though I knew it, and I was just like, oh well, that's great. I was excited because I was like, oh, it'll come out at the same time. But then my book got pushed back another year.
But Tonya, still the fact that the 6 AAA pinged you for a book and pinged him for a movie. I'm sure it's other people. I don't know everybody who's talking about them. Isn't this amazing?
Oh yes, but I got backstory on that. So, okay. Writing biographies, especially like, as a researcher, as a journalist, as an author, like for me, I always want to make sure that like I get, things right. So in my research, I try to connect with like families and of subjects and things like that. Unfortunately, I was not able to, because I was reaching out to people and they were like, who are you?
Wow.
Like, who are you? And I was explaining to people like, no, I'm a passionate educator. I'm a Black woman writer. Like, I want to be able to, because, sometimes, and also I think it was a strong urge because how sometimes folks from outside our communities be writing, and I just, right. And I wanted to make sure, because I wanted to do my part with making sure this story lived on in it for our young folks and for our young children. And I wanted to play my role. And so, but I was looking, I was trying to connect, and I know that I didn't have the I don't have the gravitas of, Tyler Perry or Kerry Washington or anyone like that. But I I was excited because I was like, and then when I eventually, like very recently, have been connected with Elizabeth Helm Fraser, and she is a decorated Army veteran in the Washington, D.C. area who has been doing so much, along with the person who really advocated for the sculpture, Navy veteran. I can't remember the name, but she was kind enough when I reached out to email to have a conversation with me and talk to me about the book and hear me out. And I told her, and I was like, I really want to like have this book in the schools, and I want, kids reading about this history, and that's my part to play, and I know that, we weren't able to connect earlier, but talking to her, I found out that, she had consulted on the movie, and she had consulted with some of the members of the 688 who were still alive back around 2018 and 2019. And they were very vocal about who they wanted to tell their story. And why. And so, they just were vocal about wanting it.
Who did they want? Who did they say?
No, they were on board with Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm telling the story, and also, the actresses and everything that played, and the actors that played the roles in the movie. They were on board. From what I know, from what I've talked to Miss Helm Fraser, and so, I'm not gonna, get it, because that's not my place to say. You have to talk to her. So I can't, divulge all of that information. But when, I think it's important, like, who tells the story.
Agreed.
Too. And so my thing is just that, and if I'm trying to find family members so I can send them a copy of the book and, let them know that just how I want the story to live on, like, especially with, our children, and especially now when they're trying to ban, they're banning books, they're sneakily banning books. We're in Tennessee, we're in the third most banned book state in the whole country. Wow. So, they're silently trying to rip these books and these stories out of the curriculum. And here I am writing them, getting to work and saying, no, we want to learn about these monumental figures in our history. They deserve our celebration. They deserve an applause. They deserve flowers. They deserve our respect, and they deserve to be heard and told. So
what tell us just a little bit about, like, high level, who the 688 are, and what's something that really stood out to you as you created the book.
Yes. So the 688, and I've been speaking with Miss Elizabeth Helm Fraser in terms of getting the language right, because they were predominantly Black battalion. However, there were a few women within the 688 who did not identify as Black American, and so they were predominantly Black and multi-ethnic battalion.
Okay.
And heavy on the predominant. Let's just say that. And so, what I learned, about the women was just, they just wanted to serve their country. They didn't know that what they were doing was going to have such a big effect, not only in the war, but after. They really, for whatever reason, each one of those 855 women, they just wanted to sign up to serve their country for many other ways, maybe to take care of themselves or their families, maybe to, find work after school, or to see what trades they could get into, or what options that they had in terms of career. There were so many different reasons why, the women joined, but they wanted to be there. They wanted to serve despite, being facing discrimination and oppression and racism at home. Yeah. And during this time, in the United States, we're dealing with segregation and discrimination, and Jim Crow and discrimination. And these women, rose above that complete a job.
Yeah.
And their mission, their number one mission, was to save the United States mail, because there were millions of pieces of mail that were backlogged overseas in England and in France. And so soldiers were not getting mail from their families. Families were not getting mail from soldiers. The communication was off and morale was low because they were not getting the communication. And with a child in the military, and as I'm military adjacent with family members in the military, it's so important for our service members to hear from loved ones.
That's right.
Stationed overseas or they're on duty somewhere else, that they're not close to their family. And so these women incredibly moved 17 million pieces of mail in 3 months. I mean, they thought, hey, this is going to take you forever. We don't even know if you could do it. And they did that. Okay. They did that. And one thing that really, like, in my research, that's not in the book, because this is an introductory, a kind of introduction to the 6888, but and I have resources in the back for further research that you can do. But one thing that I learned is about Major Charity Early Adams is that she was such a fierce leader, and she stood up for the entire unit. She was their voice. She was the microphone. She was the leader. She cared about all of the women in the battalion. She cared about their dignity, about their lives, just while they were there doing the mission and outside of. That's why she created, she had a hair salon over there, for women to go get their hair did. Okay. Because
it's important to Black women. Our hair, even with mine being short, I care how my hair looks. Okay. Yes. It's like, okay, let me make sure.
Like, I don't care where I'm at. You better have somebody that be able to do this and do this. So she did that, and had lots of opportunities for just camaraderie and community building within the work that she was doing and being assigned to do, and had to have a lot of things roll off of her back in the process. And so the resilience of these women, really writing about it and really relearning and learning again as I'm writing about it, really like helped me to understand, like, you are resilient too. Like, ma'am, like, how many people gonna tell you no? It doesn't matter. You know how many people told these women no? It didn't matter. They still do what they need to do.
That's right.
And as Black women too, like with Lance's dedication in the beginning, he said, Lance, the fabulous illustrator, by the way. I mean, absolutely marvelous work.
I'm gonna I don't know if I can blow you up. Let's see if I can. No. Sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
But I'll Tonya, what am I doing? There we go.
So Lance, fantastic illustrator. I'm so glad to have worked with him on this project. But his dedication said, to every Black woman who deserves celebration when they didn't receive it. Me reading that was like, well, damn, that is true. Like, how many times have I felt like that, in life? And it's just like, man, it really hit me. Like, this is bigger. It's bigger than this historic moment. It's bigger than, you writing this book. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And so, it really just, I don't know. The powerful messages that I got while I was writing this were just transformational, and it helped me to, because I tell you all the time, I'm like, I can't do this no more. I just can't do anything. I don't know what universe, what do you want me to do? You got me doing all this, but so I'm always like that. And so, writing this though, really like, and seeing the finished product, like seeing the finished product, just like they saw the finished product when them 17 million pieces of mail were sent, and they went and then they did it again in another city. But seeing that, knowing that, hey, there ain't nothing that this sister can do. There's nothing. And I stand on the shoulders of women who did that.
Girl.
Okay.
Girl. This is who we stand on the shoulders of.
Yes.
I mean, I know everybody has Kerry Washington in their mind, but let's really give the real people who, we need their images in our minds. I love the movie. That movie, I can barely watch it. I think I've watched it twice because what you're talking about, it moves so much in me. I always think people talk about our ancestors as if they were just so broke down and weak, and they were done wrong, but these are some strong people. And it reminds me, you got the same strength and you got to rise to the occasion just like they rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
And so, my father is the one who started talking to me about this. And that's how I actually found out about the movie. When he was talking to me last year, we were just looking at videos on YouTube about the 6888. I was like, what? I was like, no one told me about this. And, in learning about them, of course, the movie came out. So I was like, I can't wait. I like it. It can't get here quick enough.
Yeah.
And I needed that movie coming into this year. I needed that movie to remember, just thinking about how she was like, the man was like, hey, I'm sending some white man in here to be over these women now because you ain't doing a good job. And she was like, over my dead body.
Right. Yes.
And guess who didn't leave?
Yes.
Guess who didn't leave? So Tonya, I bought your book.
Yay!
I just want to take a moment. I'm going to unbox it, ladies. Even though Tonya has her book, I'm going to unbox my book. I just want to take a moment to say, yes, it's a beautiful thing to see that someone has a published book. But what matters the most is that we actually buy the book. So I've made it easy for people to buy this book because I put a link in the description box to bookshop.org, which is a B Corporation company. They're doing good work.
Shout out to the independent bookstores.
You said what?
Shout out to the independent bookstores. Yes.
Yes, I actually chose Alkebulan, which is near where me and Tonya live, as my independent bookstore. I also get, I'm on Libro.fm, and I got to choose a bookstore. So every time I buy something, it goes to Alkebulan, because the independent bookstores is where it all started.
Yes.
But I want to know, and you can just speak on behalf of artists, but I just need people to understand the importance of, once you have the means, because I know, everybody is where they are in their finances, but if you have the means to support an artist, what kind of difference does it make when people buy your book, Tonya? Because you had an agent, but now you're doing a lot of work to promote your book. So all this work you're doing, like what difference does it make when people buy somebody's book that's published?
I think now, especially in regards to children's books, I think we need to keep that in mind, because children's books sit behind a paywall because they're dependent upon adults buying them for children. And so that makes it even a little bit even more challenging getting the books out there, because we have to convince the parents that, and the parents, the caregivers, the teachers, and the educators, and the librarians, that this book is worth having, and this book is worth our children having and learning about. So spreading the word, there are a lot of things that you can do to support authors that don't even require any money. Those are usually the first things that I suggest, whether it's not only for myself, but for all of my authors. And just a quick tidbit, traditionally published authors in the United States, there was a new survey that was done. Less than 6% are Black. Less than 6%. So out of thousands and thousands and thousands of books, imagine how small of a percentage that is of Black authors who are getting their books onto shelves. And then a lot of times, often, when we have books that are published by publishers, we may not even get the support. We may not even get the marketing and publicity support that everyone gets, because there's only a certain budget. It may be stretched too thin. And, you know, they're going to put money behind their top bestsellers, you know, people who already are doing well and have shown that they've done well. And so everybody else kind of gets like, we have to put on different hats. Okay, now, because of me, I've had to put on a marketing and publicity hat, and also, an author, and doing all these different things to try to get the word out there. And for me, I understand, like, sales are important. Like, sales are important in that world because it's capitalism. They're looking at, publishers are looking at sales when it comes down to it. Can this author sell books? And if they can, we'll make sure they have another one. If not, you'll never hear from this person again. So it's important, and I hate that, because I do not like the way that capitalism works. I do not like that certain folks who may not have access to information, or may not have access to the means to be able to do some of these things. I'm out here, I'm a homeschooling mama. I ain't got time to be email, but I have to do it. But I don't have, like, the bandwidth sometimes to do all these things and wear all these hats. But my number one goal is to get this book into the hands of young readers. They need to know about this history. Right now I'm working on, and I've started the 10,000 letters for the 6888 campaign. It is an initiative that has been inspired by the efforts of Miss Elizabeth Helm Fraser and her stamp team. Last year, they put in an application to the Citizen Stamp Committee for the United States Postal Service to get the 6888 a forever postal stamp, and their application was not approved. It was not approved. And one of the reasons they cited that would need to happen for them to get it approved in 2027 is to have more support. Show more support, and show more that people will want to see them have a stamp.
So this 10,000 letters for the 6888 campaign is for the stamp.
Yes, it's for the stamp. And so I'm trying to work in conjunction with educators, librarians, and schools. You can request this book for your local library for free. If you can't buy a book, request it to your library. That way, you can support by getting a purchase, but it's not coming out of your pocket. Or share information about the campaign online, share about the book, talk about it, tag your favorite celebrity. I've been tag Jennifer Hudson, or, some of these people who can get the book out. Big Sean is a family member who served in the 6888. Tag him in my post. So just getting the word out is going to help us to help get this cemented, get this forever stamp. They deserve it. They deserve a stamp forever for the work that they did. And it's full circle, because they were moving the mail, Yep. So my goal with this is to work with young folks to write letters to the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee and show them, like, we show up and show out. We showed up and showed out and watched the movie on Netflix. Now let's show up and show out and write some letters to support these efforts to make sure that these women have a stamp forever. Wow. And I think that's part of the ancestral work. I think that's part of the reason why I was, spiritually roped into this, because, like, I don't want to accept no. Like, I'm gonna be at these schools. I'm gonna be talking to these principals. I'm gonna be, willing to, we already have 100 letters so far, and that's just, from the book launch, and then, my kids communities that I'm a part of, and I'm like, okay, y'all gonna sit down and y'all gonna write these letters today.
So how do we become a part of it? I know I put it on here, but
yes. So I have the post I have on my Instagram. I'm trying to get a more solid. I've been reaching out to the media so we can have an official article that will have the address and all that. So I'm still working on that. But in the post on my Instagram, I have all of the details on where you can send your stamp.
okay.
In the details are basically, you know, read the book, start a discussion, talk about why, you know, this historical event is so important, and then write a letter of support. I'm going to. I thought that this would have been done, but I'm going to be working on it myself, an educational guide for a companion for this book.
Oh,
yes. So I'm going to, you know, have an educational companion that I'll be able to put on my website so that everyone can download it for free.
okay.
And there you will also find letter writing activities and also the information to be able to send the letter to the stamp committee.
Okay. Stamp. I'm just going to put this here because then I'll remember. Wow, Tonya. One of the things I wrote down is man, that less than 6% really hit me. Less than 6% of authors are Black. And it's crazy because I'm thinking, wow, it wasn't that many when I was a kid. It's like there's definitely not a lot now. But I see you as a modern day griot. You know, I tell people all the time, we are back here doing things that our ancestors did in a modern way. And you are such the griot, and you know, your commitment to this mission is just awe-inspiring. And I really want people to support your work. I want people to support your work. I want them to buy the book, and I want them to stay connected to you for all the other beautiful things that you have put out, will put out. And so I'm just asking you all, you know, Tonya is not just my friend and an author that I've brought on today. She's a part of this community. And so I'm asking y'all to go to her website, tonyaabari.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And, you know, she has a link tree. There's all kinds of ways that you can find to support her work. Definitely, I encourage us all to make sure that we write our letters to get this stamp. I remember when I saw Celia Cruz's stamp. I can't remember. I collect all kinds of stamps at times, but it's like, oh my gosh, somebody who looks like me, you know? And so we need these stamps, especially in this day and age. We need that remembrance. And like you said, they deserve it. So everybody, please make sure you support the letter writing campaign to make this a stamp. We got to show the interest. I love that you said, let's put these books in school. No, the libraries. You said we can request it for our libraries, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Children's book. Come on, y'all. This thing is not, it's going to make it. Request this to be in your library. Okay.
And I have to say that this book also won the Junior Library Guild Gold Selection Award. And so, you know, it's there for what I don't have it. I haven't received it yet.
Hold on.
No. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
If everybody would give a round of applause for Tonya and that award.
And so, you know, I just, you know, like I said again, like use is the library is so powerful. Like the library is so powerful. You know, get into the libraries. You can, you know, talk about the book there, write the letter there. I need to reach out to NPL to see if I could do some letter writing classes, at the library as well. But also, like, if you know a teacher, an educator who may, benefit from me coming on virtually, or if you're in local in Nashville for me coming in person to do the letter writing workshop, I'm happy to do it. So that's another way that you can support, is just by spreading the word and connecting me with educators. Also connecting me with family members of veterans, and particularly of the 688. I was able to connect with 2 family members, and so I'm sending books to them.
Okay, so tell us about that, because the first one you were talking about was a lady who was a consultant, but then you also have the story about connecting with somebody who was a part of the 6888 in some kind of way.
Yeah, well, with the family member, she's a great niece on the paternal side of Lieutenant Charity Early Adams. Connected with me online and was just able to find out more about this young lady, and was able to, send a book. So and she was just very excited that, there's a book for young folks now. So, and so we, I connected. And then also Miss Helm Frazier has been so gracious in connecting me to some of the family members of other members of the 6888 through, and we're going to surprise them and send, books to them as well. So I'm just grateful. At the end of the day, like, that's what it comes down to. Like, I am grateful for these women's contributions to our world, and I think we all can learn something from their resilience and their strength, and this event.
So I want to. I'm a businesswoman. I'm spiritual and I'm a businesswoman. And I still think we should buy the book. I know that you gave us a lot of other ways to support, because you said the ones whose books do well, they're like, hey, let's get him or her to make another book, or them, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm asking everybody, buy this book, send that message. Look at my book, Tonya. And I'm actually going to get it signed when I see Tonya. I'm going to say, will you sign my book? Oh my gosh, I get to meet Tonya, the one who wrote this book. Will you sign my book, Miss Abari?
Yep, I am. I'm Sharpie ready. I got my Sharpie in my pocket.
But if we make your book a bestseller, would that be a good thing?
Got about 10 more hours to do that.
So we got 10 hours, y'all. 10 hours.
10 hours and 5,000 copies, but no.
Well, we will persist. We will persist, because I'm like, we still have a holiday. I know, we might miss some deadline about that kind of thing, but y'all, whenever you see this video, because it will stay on my channel, please buy the book, and to support Tonya, and to, like what Tonya's saying. I want Tonya's mission to be, at the forefront, getting the story out. With our modern day griot, Miss Tonya Abari. It is such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really, really, really enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share before we end?
No, I'm just grateful. And, to those who are tuning in, thank you in advance for your support. And at the end of the day, like, yes, it is very much, it's two-pronged, help a sister out as an author, but then also, let's continue to lift these women up, to lift their spirits up, and to make sure that their story is never erased.
Ashe, y'all. Thank you, Tonya. I guess we'll start like we finish like we started, Tonya.
Yes, dance me out.
Hey, thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate you. Tonya, hold up your book. Yeah, we're gonna dance with our books. Hey, I chose a slow jam. I chose the wrong song. Hold on, we're gonna go fast. Here we go. 6888. I'm gonna bring them back up. We're honoring you today. The 6888. Ashe. Oh. Mojiba. Hey. Hey, go Tonya. The griot. Tonya Abari in the house, baby. Bestseller. I'm gonna speak it. I don't care how many hours it's left. Bestseller. Hey everybody, thank y'all so much for being here. Ashe, yes. Thank y'all so much for being here. We appreciate you. Peace and love. All right, we're gonna take it off, Tonya.